Hey friends, welcome to the Woodshed Homestead. My name is Jennifer. I live on a 37-acre farm near the coast of South Carolina with my husband and 3 daughters. We enjoy raising our own meat and gardening. My passion is cooking, canning, preserving food, and living out God's plan for us here on the farm. I hope that you will join us on this journey and learn something along the way.
Hey friends, it is a beautiful, cool day here in South Carolina, and we are having Mexican food for dinner tonight. And I thought I'd bring y'all along with me while I show y'all how I make my version of beef enchiladas, beef and bean enchiladas, and Mexican rice. We love Mexican food, but do not love the price tag that comes along with going out to eat at our local Mexican restaurant. So I try to remake some of our favorite dishes at home, and this is definitely one of them. I have about 2 pounds of ground beef that I am browning up in the pan over here. And I like to add pinto beans into our enchiladas. I know that's not traditionally something that would be in an enchilada necessarily. It's more of a burrito filler. But I like pinto beans just because they give a lot of protein. They bulk up the meat. And I don't know about where y'all live, but where I live, hamburger meat, ground beef, ground chuck, it's expensive, very expensive. So I can pinto beans, and these are just plain pinto beans with salt and water in them. And I can these up and keep these on my shelf. You can have pinto beans and rice. You can make like a refried bean. And that's kind of what we're going to do today. We are going to add these in with our beef mixture so that it kind of bulks up our meat. So my ground beef is almost finished browning, and while that's finishing up, I'm going to go ahead and open these pinto beans. I'm going to kind of show y'all what I do with them. I've got just a small pan. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of it, just so they don't stick. Probably about a tablespoon maybe. And then, now these pinto beans have been pressure canned, so they're done. I mean, they have been cooked. But what we're going to do is we're going to put them in this pan with just a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to smash up some of them, but I'm going to leave some of them more whole, so it's got a little bit of difference in texture. So we're going to dump these straight into the pan, and I like to season these up with just a little bit of taco seasoning or taco sauce and some jalapenos. If you don't like the heat from the jalapenos, you can omit that. Definitely don't have to use that. Or if you are a fellow canner and make cowboy candy is a sweetened jalapeno, and you can also add those in as well, and they would be delicious in this. Alright, so our hamburger meat is completely done. I realized I was out of homemade taco seasoning. I thankfully had a pack of taco seasoning on the shelf, and so I'm going to use that. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of Taco Bell taco seasoning, just for a little bit extra flavor. And I'm just going to turn this down on low and let it sit here and kind of simmer while we work on our beans. Just want to make sure you mix this in really well. Alright, so back to the beans. Like I said, I love to use pinto beans because they are great source of protein, and they also help bulk up the meat, so you don't have to have necessarily as much chicken or ground beef or whatever you're using. You can add this as a filler. And also pinto beans are great at helping maintain your blood sugar and preventing insulin spikes. So all around, pinto beans offer a great nutritional benefit. It's something you can add in, and you could use this also if you didn't want to add this into the enchilada. You could also just season them up really well, heat them, and keep them, you know, put them on the side as a side dish along to serve alongside of your rice. But for my family, I know that they're more likely to get eaten if they're inside the enchilada. So I'm gonna put them inside the enchilada. They are full of protein, fiber, all the good things. So I have taken the back of a fork and I'm just smashing these up. Like I said, I'm gonna leave some of them whole. But a lot of them are gonna get smashed up. I'm also gonna add a little bit of taco seasoning to these, and I'm going to add some jalapenos that I canned up back in the summer. That's just going to give it just a little bit of heat and a little bit of flavor. And if y'all are like me, I love a little bit of heat in my Mexican food. All right, so y'all can see this is kind of what this looks like. It doesn't look very appetizing, but I promise you it's delicious, and it's going to get mixed in. It's going to be inside your enchilada. You're never going to see it. So I'm just going to keep these down on low. I'm actually going to add a little bit more jalapeno. I'm terrible about measuring things, so that was probably the equivalent of one medium-sized jalapeno. All right, so I've got these down on medium-low. Our ground beef is ready. It's been seasoned with our taco seasoning and our taco sauce. The nice thing about this recipe too is that you could make these and assemble them ahead of time, pop them in your refrigerator even the day before, and then pull them out the day of, pop them in the oven, put your sauce on top of them, pop them in the oven, and you can have a quick, easy dinner. I'm going to move over to the counter, and we're gonna stuff these shells and get them rolled up and get them in the oven. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, so we are back. We're gonna stuff our enchiladas, and I have the burrito size tortilla shells, our ground beef, our pinto beans, just a bag of 4 cheese Mexican blend, and then I like to buy the Old El Paso red enchilada sauce. This is my favorite. I'm hoping this summer that I will be able to can up some enchilada sauce, and then I won't have to purchase this at the store. But excuse me. All right, so I'm actually going to put down a nice layer of our pinto bean mixture first. And I'm just going to spread that out. And then I'm going to put in our ground beef. And then I'm going to sprinkle each one of these inside with a little cheese. And I'm just going to roll these up. I'm going to tuck it and roll. And then you have your enchilada. I'm going to lay it in a greased 9x13 pan. And I'm going to roll the rest of these up, and then I'll come back and show y'all what they look like once they are all rolled. Okay, so I was able to make 8 burrito size beef and bean enchiladas with the pint of pinto beans that I had and the hamburger meat that I grilled. And I stuffed those two ingredients, and then I added cheese into each one of them. And we are just going to open up this can of enchilada sauce. We're going to pour this over the top. And then I'm going to top this with some more cheese. And if you wanted to, you could throw onions on top of this. You could throw black olives. You could add more meat on top. I do have a little bit of ground beef left, so I'm just going to sprinkle that on the top, just because I don't want to waste it. And that is done. I'm just going to add the cheese. Like I said, I'm going to sprinkle a good bit of cheese on top of this. And I'm going to put this in the oven on 375. And I'm just gonna let this cook while I work on our Mexican rice. And just keep an eye on it. Everything in this is already cooked, but you just want it to all melt together and get nice, and let that enchilada sauce kind of soak into your enchiladas. I'm gonna go back over to the stove and show y'all how I make that authentic Mexican rice. Okay, we are back. Our enchiladas are in the oven, and I'm gonna show y'all how I make my version of authentic Mexican rice. So I start out by rinsing about a cup and in between a cup and a half and 2 cups of rice, and I just rinse it until the water runs clear. I wash my pan. And we are going to add about a 1/4 of a cup or so of olive oil to our pan. You can use any kind of olive oil or fat, any kind of oil or fat that you want to. And then we're just going to let that heat up for just a minute. And we are going to... Once that's heated up a little bit, we're gonna put our rice into that hot oil. So that'll take just a second. And we are basically just trying to like kind of toast the rice just a little bit. You want it to get kind of like slightly golden brown. Nothing more than that. You don't want to burn it or scorch it. So just light brown. Rice is in the pan, and we're just going to watch this very carefully, because like I said, the last thing we want to do is scorch our rice. There's nothing worse than scorched rice. It is not fixable. In the meantime, I have chopped up a very small onion, and this recipe calls for I usually use tomato sauce. I'm out of tomato sauce. I didn't realize that until I started pulling the ingredients for this rice. So what I did was I took a jar of diced tomatoes that I had diced up, I don't know, like 2 summers ago. And I threw it in the blender and pureed it. Tomato sauce. I also put peas in this, like little like sweet peas, lesueur peas, whatever you want to call them. A lot of authentic, like truly authentic Mexican restaurants will put peas and carrots in their Mexican rice. I prefer just the peas, so that's all I'm going to put in there. So we're going to toast our rice in olive oil, and then we've got a small onion diced, some garlic. I just used the jarlic. I buy the big old honking thing from Sam's, and I put garlic in everything. I've got a can of peas that I'm going to strain the liquid off of, our pureed tomato sauce. You can also add in tomato bouillon, and it will enhance the tomato flavor. I don't have any. I don't keep tomato bouillon. In the summertime, when I am canning tomatoes, I will save the skins of my tomatoes and dehydrate them, And then once they're dehydrated, I make them into a powder, and I use that as tomato bouillon. But once I'm out of that, it's not something I go purchase. So I'm gonna use a little bit of chicken bouillon in place, and just water. And that is pretty much the gist of this rice recipe. It's super, super easy, and it's delicious. So this is starting to brown. So we'll give this just a minute or two. While we're doing that, I'm gonna strain these peas. I just thought it was kind of odd that Mexican rice had peas and carrots in it, but in our cross-country adventures, I found that really, really authentic Mexican restaurants do put peas and carrots in there and onions in their authentic rice. So that's just the way I've continued to make it. While that is toasting up, I'm gonna grab 3.5 cups of water, and I'll be right back. Okay, so got our water ready. I've got everything ready to go. I would love for y'all to share with me in the comments some of your favorite Mexican or really any kind of international food. I love really any kind of food. I love trying all kinds of international food, and I always am interested to see what other people enjoy trying or eating, or what some of your experiences have been with international food. Those are always interesting. So make sure you share that with me. If I wasn't on camera, this rice would have already been browned. But, you know, as my granny used to tell me, a watch pot never boils. So I guess that remains true with browning rice too. Now, if you wanted to, you could have cooked this rice yesterday and put it in a container and put it in your refrigerator and pulled it out today, and that would have sped the process up. There is some research that shows that once rice, pasta, potatoes, any kind of starchy food like that has been cooked, cooled, refrigerated, and then reheated, that it causes less of an insulin spike than you would have in response to fresh cooked rice or pasta or potatoes. And so if you're one of those people that's insulin resistant or pre-diabetic, diabetic, if you're just on a health journey and looking for health tips, day-old rice, day-old pasta, day-old potatoes that have been cooked and refrigerated causes less of an insulin spike. Alright, so our rice is just starting to become golden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in our small onion. And I'm going to add in some garlic. Don't usually measure garlic, so yeah, about that much. probably about a tablespoon-ish. We'll throw in our peas. I'm just going to let this brown up for just a second to kind of incorporate all those flavors. I'm going to add about a half a cup of my tomato puree. Okay. And then probably about a teaspoon-ish of chicken bouillon. I don't know, guys. I just eyeball it. This is how I was taught to cook, and this is how I've continued to cook. And then we're going to add salt and pepper. Probably about a 4th teaspoon of salt-ish, half teaspoon, something like that. And then pepper to taste, however much you prefer. My pepper shaker is out, so resort to my backup. I'm going to add a little bit more tomato puree just because it doesn't look like enough to me. Now I'm going to put in 3.5 cups of water. I'm going to stir all this together. I'm going to bring it up to a boil. Once it comes to a rolling boil, I'm going to put a lid on it and I'm going to turn it down to like medium low and let it finish cooking. And once it is done, I will plate this meal up and show y'all what it looks like. Okay guys, we're back. I've got dinner plated up. We've got our beef and bean enchilada and our Mexican style rice. And this is my take on restaurant style Mexican dinner. I hope y'all give this a try and come back and see me on my next video. I hope y'all enjoyed this and enjoy your dinner.